day, all across America, women are being abused. Women are being murdered. They call it domestic violence. Young ladies, find peace, find happiness, and make sure you take time to give yourself real love.
Hi, my name is Miss E. Roach Ellington. I'm the founder of GYRL, Giving Yourself Real Love. GYRL was founded due to the necessity that one of the hardest things in life to do is to give yourself real love. Our mission is to empower women with life-saving skills that are survivors and victims of domestic violence and abuse. We know too well that 1 out of 4, or 4 out of 5 in our community have been touched by the time that they're of age of 12. Victims live with domestic violence effects, which is PTSD, all their life, PTSD, which is all their lives. So GYRL's mission is to help them restore and live a purposeful, meaningful life.
I'm Armida Dupree. I am the litigation director for Giving Yourself Real Love, or GYRL. You can find us at GYRLplease.org. Our founder, Miss E. Roach Ellington, founded this organization many decades ago with the hope of inspiring, educating, and preventing sexual abuse, sexual violence, physical abuse, domestic violence against young women and men. She has been a pioneer for this organization, and that's what this organization stands for. GYRL, please. Give yourself real love, please.
It took me many, many years to report that something has happened to me. I'm speaking of the victim. So how can I get myself together in 30 days minimum, 30 days minimum? Because when a woman leaves a situation, a domestic violence situation, she usually leaves with nothing, meaning she's lost her job, she may be struggling to keep her children together, and homelessness is the #1 reason of most victims of domestic violence. Most of them face being homeless. So how can you think to get yourself together when you got all of that pressure on you?
I had to find myself because I didn't have the support to assist me with the guidance of what's right and what's wrong. I moved out of my mother's home at the age of 14 years old. And through that, I had to go through a lot of things in life. And I thank God that I'm here because I've learned a lot of things. I've learned what a healthy relationship looks like by being through so many horrible ones. I've learned what it's like to have a family even if you don't have blood connections. And I also learned how to be independent, and I love the woman that I am today.
In this song, there's a message to all the girls that's been in an abusive relationship. Let me tell you something. You need to get away from that life. Now, how long has it been? How long has this been going on? Look here. Just clear your mind and listen to the words in this song. You're in a situation and things ain't going right. And every time something happens, it ends in a fight. Girl, you don't have the will. You don't have the will to say goodbye. Oh, no, no. Instead, just stay and Listen, girl. Girls give real love. Yes, you gave real love. Yes, you did, girl. Girls give real love. You used to have a smile on your pretty little face. Something happened. What happened to that smile? It's not there. It's gone away. Ah, some things you just can't hide. No, no. 'Cause when I look, I can see it in your eyes. Oh, girl. Girls gives real love. Yes, you gave real love. Yes, you did, girl. Girls gives real love.
You know, a lot of women, when I don't know how they felt, but when it first happened, you make excuses for it. I had just gotten married. It wasn't domestic violence before I was married. It was one of them old school type things. I guess that's your wife and you put her in place and make sure she minds and does what she's supposed to do. I don't know. I can't speak for him. I don't know what he was thinking. But unfortunately, and I will say this, there are many women out here and they keep it a secret just because of how it looks. And when you love, unfortunately, you love somebody more than they love you, because if you love them, if they love you, they're not going to be hurting you. You're not going to cry. And I always say this to young people, and people say, "Oh, you can't say that." I said, if a man makes you cry, walk.
Well, you know what, the thing about being around people and knowing the signs, you know the signs, because you know people's character. And when I become friends with people or associates with people, I pick up on your character, because that's
Right.
what I want to be around, because there's nothing else that you can give me but your loyalty and your truth.
Right.
So I pick up on that, and when you became everything opposite that you was when I met you, undependable, didn't value your word, you know, didn't show up anymore, you know, I mean, all those things that you was absent on, then yes, I have to say, was that Lene's character that fooled me, or is something going on in her life? When I see a lot of women, when they get to that point that is no return, the kids get hurt because the kids got left. Because you could not move with those children. You know what I'm saying? So we thinking, okay, I got to get myself together. But then you got these little ones that's dependent on you too. And they love mommy and daddy both. And now they have to make a choice.
The crazy thing about abusers, which is what my psychiatrist and a bunch of other people who talked to me about domestic abuse said, they said the crazy thing about abusers is they'll beat the tar fool out of a woman and be some of the best daddies in the world.
We need to keep it real. And you know,
Right.
2018, I'm pulling the gloves off of this, because we have a city council that sits down there with 2 to 3 women on that council.
Right.
And not one of those women has spoken up about issues dealing with domestic violence or women.
Right. Right.
We need to be on top of this. I'm housing, I'm feeding, I'm clothing, I'm educating, I'm protecting your mother, your sister, your daughter, your cousin, your woman, your girlfriend,
Yeah.
at no cost to you. It has nothing to do with our past and our relationship.
Absolutely.
Our past turns into our future. And when we talk about this, I get really, really serious about this, because I raised my child as a single mother, but I had the community's help. So nothing's ever done by you alone.
Right.
When people say I raised my child singly, you did not raise your child singly.
Right.
Because the community helps you one way or another.
Yes.
When we talk about domestic violence, yeah, I get upset about it. Yeah, I talk about it every day, and until God gives me breath, I'm going to continue to talk about it. Because when I help a young mother, I help a generation.
Yes.
I help that woman become something she didn't even think she could become, because I
Right.
did. You know, we don't do it to get the glory from it.
Right.
You know,
Yeah.
we don't do it because this is something we want to do. And I tell the girls all the time, Miss E didn't wake up with you on my mind. You know what I'm saying? I didn't wake up to say, Lord, please send me 10 crying women that don't have no place to go, that just got beat up. No, I didn't ask that.
Right.
But when God made me this mission, he sent me women that made me grow up.
Right,
So when
right.
I help you, I'm helping myself.
Absolutely,
And so don't
absolutely.
ever let somebody think that they're doing something and they're not getting anything out of it.
Right, they
Because
always
see,
are.
when I wipe your tears, I'm steady wiping my tears because I couldn't cry. But I can cry with you. So that allows me to cry. We use GYRL as an acronym, you know, but the real meaning is giving yourself real love. The one person that you hate the most, after you've been raped, after you've been molested, after you've been beat up, violated, and everything, the first person you let go is yourself. I don't care what
Absolutely, that's
nobody
true.
else says.
That's
You
true.
forgive everybody.
Everybody else.
The holy rollers to tell you to forgive this person. Everybody will tell you forgive this person, but nobody tells you to go and forgive yourself. You have to forgive yourself. And most people think that we're about domestic violence, but we're not just about domestic violence. We're about empowerment, you know, women empowerment. We got caught up on domestic violence because nobody was addressing it. And we had a lot of members that were suffering. And so they started coming, so it was a sign that we needed to talk about it. And so we started talking about it for the last 4 years. So once a month we do a forum called Hands Off Domestic Violence. And we bring people together and we talk about issues. Some tell their stories, some just listen.
These ladies are survivors, and we all have that in common. And I know a lot of y'all probably have a story that y'all had to make it through. It may not be our story, but it may be something similar. And a lot of times with domestic violence, it's a fine line. Because sometimes you don't even know you're being abused. I've heard a lot of people, I deal with a lot of clients, and they don't even know they're being abused. But sometimes it just start by this, you know. And when somebody's tearing you down, constantly telling you you're not going to be done, and you know they're just constantly negative, that's a form of abuse. That's emotional abuse, and that's the deeper scar that's going to last with you for an eternity. It's like a permanent tattoo. And a lot of people ignore that. And then it leads on, because domestic violence going to steps. And most of the steps we want to stay in is the la-la land, honeymoon steps. And that's where a lot of us don't leave, because the people always ask, why don't she leave? Why don't he leave? You know, and it's a variety of reasons why a person don't leave, because of the lack of resources, the children. It could be a number of things, but the thing is, don't judge them. Because they're going through, they're trying to make a way. They're trying to get out of it. A lot of people don't get out of domestic violence relationships until 20, 40 years. Because they are paralyzed. They're up under that thumb. My story started, I was molested at the age of 5 by my mother's boyfriend. That's when my life started being, I was violated. And I'm finding out, as I do further research, domestic violence and sexual child molestation go hand in hand. And that's how some of our daughters and sons get into these relationships, because dysfunction is our norm. So when you get someone that actually care about you, you don't know what that is, because dysfunction, if you've been living dysfunction from the age of 5, I'm 46, from the age of 5 to 46, you're like, wait a minute, man, hold on. You know, somebody trying to treat you right, treat you nice, and this and that, you don't recognize that. We're love bankrupt. We're trying to give something that we don't have. And we just so in love, you know. And I always ask the question, if you love him so much, why can't you love yourself that same way? We only got one heart beating in our body, but we can't seem to find that for ourselves. Because we got to put this guy up here, and we forget about us and our children. You don't know what a person's been through. You don't know their walk. So from 5 to 14. Well, I got pregnant at the age of 13. My son he'll be 32 in March. I got 2 grandchildren. But I got pregnant at 13. I was being promiscuous, thinking I'm grown. But my mama still ain't paying attention to me though. So that's 8 years that went by, 5 to 13. Wow, that's pretty wild. Okay. So then, at the age of 14, I went on and moved out because I just couldn't, after I had my baby, I just couldn't deal because she was still with the same man. When I moved out of her house, I didn't have nowhere to go. So this man came up to me and said, hey, I got you. Because they prey on you when you don't know who you are. I was lost. At 14, I didn't know who I was. So they prey on you. People prey on you. They're like, oh, I can manipulate this and mold her how I want her to be. The man said, well, you know what? I'll buy your baby some Similac. I'll get you something to eat. I was gone. I moved with that man. I sold my soul for that $5 can of Similac so I could feed my baby. And I was with that man until I fought my way out of that relationship at 18 or 19. Because he started beating on me and just doing whatever. And that's when the hospital visits was happening. I would go back home. It just concussions, ribs, just all kind of stuff was going on. And he was, but I told my mom about it. My mom said, well, that's what he's supposed to do. He's taking care of you. So you got to be careful of the advice that you're giving to your children. Either verbal or nonverbal. If they see you still stuck in a relationship that's not good for you, guess what? That's what they're learning from. And then you wonder why your daughter out here or your son out here. Well, it starts from the root. And I like to deal with the root of the problem.
What did it for me, I believe, is when I was 6 years old. And I can remember my uncle molested me sexually. So it was real early for me, abuse, while I was pregnant, and I blacked out. That was the first incident.
And you were 15 years old at the time?
Yes, I was 15.
And with child?
Yes, I believe I was 6 months pregnant. My advice to them would be, you have to make choices, and the choices that we make are to better ourselves. And I just think that, everybody has options. You don't have to go through what you're going through. You have the option to leave and do better. Not a male that I had any children with. We were dating, and my first encounter with him was he had got upset over some financial issues, and I remember him punching me in my face, and he broke my nose. That was the first incident with him.
Now, did you call the police?
I didn't. I do remember a time that I called the police and they never came, so that was just something that I didn't do because I felt like they weren't there to help me. It feels like being the chewed up piece of gum on the bottom of someone's shoe.
And how do you keep moving? How do you move yourself on from there?
From being the chewed up piece of gum?
Yes.
I don't know, it took a lot for me. So I thought that staying in those types of relationships was making me a better woman, but it wasn't. It was making me a weaker one.
So really these scars linger for the rest of your life?
Of course, because she feels like that I have a wall up all the time, which I do. I'm not going to lie about that, but it's a defense mechanism. That's all I know, is to protect me. My objective is to unify our women of all colors, because I think that's also an issue as well. Bringing women together, because we tend to be competitive, and you know, have some type of empowerment to build their self-esteem, you know, because a lot of women are in these types of relationships and their self-esteem is brought to a bare minimum.
Sure.
And I think that's another reason why women stay in those types of relationships, is because they don't have that self-worth. So I would just encourage women to seek help when they need it. You know, even if you feel like you just need to talk to someone, talk about it.
I've been molested. I have been beaten. I have been abandoned. The list goes on. I've been date raped. I've been through it all. So going through that, like you said, I moved out. I got pregnant at 16, had my daughter at 17. I moved out, wanted to be grown and have my own. And through all of that, I was looking for love in all the wrong places. So I was getting with men to fill that void that I was missing, needing that love and affection that I wasn't getting. I left because I said, I'm not doing this anymore. I deserve better. Yes. She deserves even more.
Yes.
So I left that. But I should have learned, because prior to that, I was in another abusive relationship. I had been choked and a pillow put over my face and been choked until I was passed out. I've been through all of that.
I know you've been hurt too many times, but you don't have to take it. All you gotta do is just make up your mind. Girl, you have control over all the things you do. Listen, girl, this is your life. Girl, it's up to you. Girls give real love. Yes, you gave real love. Listen to me, girl. You gave it all. You gave everything you had.
I tell people I've been a victim of domestic violence since the womb. My biological dad had 2 women pregnant at the same time. Both of the babies were supposed to be born within a week of each other. He had already had a daughter with my mother and was living with my mother, but he decided that 2 babies at the same time, project twins, didn't look good. So he tried to beat me out of my mother every chance he got. So I tell people I was reared in violence. I was reared in hate and domestic violence. I tell people my God sent me my hero, which is my daddy, which happened to be my biological dad's best friend, and he didn't like the way he was treating his girlfriend that was pregnant. And he came in, he stepped in, and he was my daddy up until he passed away when I was 23, and it shook my world because that was the only love I knew. I now know that I was searching for love on the exterior, which led me to one domestic violence relationship before my marriage, which I thought was perfect. So this is what I tell people. A lot of guys show the domestic violence traits before, in the beginning. Because he grew up in it, he knew how to hide it. He was the perfect man until he said, I do. And me being the fighter that I am, I thought I could battle this man who grew up being a victim of domestic violence. And eventually he won. And I cowered down, and I took the abuse, and I would just, finally one day I told him, don't fight me in front of the kids. If you're gonna get mad and throw a fit, wait till they're gone. Wait till they go to school. I thought I was protecting my kids, and I wasn't. My kids knew what was going on. Fast forward to, got sick of it after 17 years of being married and on my knees begging him to love me and treat me right. And he told me, you a dumb bee. If it's so bad, why the F are you still here? I would never let nobody treat me the way I treat you. Here I am, a woman making 6 figures a year. Most people think education, money, they think that makes a difference to get a woman out of a domestic violence situation. It doesn't. It's your mindset. I had let this man terrorize me into thinking that if I left him once. And he told me, if you ever leave again, I'm gonna kill you and all them kids. And my courage went away because you can kill me, but don't hurt my babies. And I would add another year to the hurt and the abuse. I'm the face of PTSD. Because if they can't kill you physically, they will do everything in their power to tear you down. And I will say this to anybody. I used to sit up here and sit back there. I was a part of GYRL, and the whole time I'm getting spanked on. The whole time I'm getting choked. I'm being raped by my husband because I said, no, you're not touching me because you're touching this stuff out here. If I can say anything to anybody, when you leave, cut it. Cut it. The first instance, I've been told now, and I tell people maybe I'm shell-shocked because of him. I know I got PTSD. People have tried to date me. They do something that remind me of him. I'm sorry. I don't give an excuse. I don't talk. I'm not going to go through this again. This is ongoing for me. Look for the signs of domestic violence. You will see the signs. If a woman is making her relationship seem a little bit too perfect, something's going on. Now, they ain't got to tell their business. But if everything is just, you look at it, just examine. And I'm saying this for your family members. I'm not talking about being in people's business that you don't know. Because you might save a life. Find out what's going on. And then start helping her or him. The men go through domestic violence too. Take steps to get away from that. Support them. Help them. And understand that when they do leave, that's the beginning of the terror. I don't know how long this is going to keep going on. God told me He going to nip it in the bud, so I ain't worried about it. I'm no longer destroyed, but I'm encouraged. But I am eager to let everybody know that it's happening more than you think it is. And there are people who are not going to say anything. And it's up for us to notice it.
I was in abusive relationship for 8 years, and I'm still like going through it.
How old are you?
Right now? And I'm 28.
Oh.
And I'm just finally getting to open up. So I'm still like
Recovering.
yes, recovering from my abusive relationship with my kid's father. And my son, he really don't know, but when he was like, Mom, Daddy, don't hit my mama. Stop hitting my mama. So he'll try to get in and help. But my daughter, she's 8 and she's still traumatized from it. When I'm in a relationship, I don't know like what they're capable of doing or anything, but I'm just still fear for my life. So that's why I'm just not in a relationship with no one right now.
I am a past victim of domestic violence. It started when I was 2 years old. My dad married a lady that had sons, and then I have a brother. And as a child, I was physically abused, mentally abused, sexually abused. I was thrown in the basement. I had the lights turned off on me. So many things went on in my childhood. I was whipped as a child. And as I got older, I met a young man who was abusive. And I had a son by him. And then I met my children's father, who I have 5 daughters by. And he was emotionally, physically, sexually abusive. I was thrown into refrigerators. I was choked. I was thrown out onto the sidewalk. So many things happened to me, and in my life, I chose to do drugs and alcohol to mask the hurt and the pain that I endured all my life. My children's father that I met, we had just began a relationship, and I got pregnant with my oldest daughter, and he hit me. And so I called my dad, and my dad came over, and my dad said, if a young man hits you while you're pregnant, then he doesn't need to be in your life. And if you choose to stay with him, don't call me anymore. And I told my dad that I love him and he loves me, and he said he wouldn't do it anymore. But that anymore turned into 20 years of physical abuse. It was so many I can't count. I know over 100 times. It's so many. So if you think about from 1981 to 2000, being abused, that's a lot. He did tell me some stories about some things that he endured as a child, so I kind of figured the reason why he was so mean was because of some things that he dealt with in his childhood. And he couldn't take it out on them, so he took it out on us. As long as we were sober, we were good. As soon as the cocaine and the pills and the alcohol got in our system, the fight was on.
We want to talk about the effects of domestic violence is having and how we can actually break the cycle and break the silence of domestic violence. So let's start here, talking about you're a single father with your child. Different thing arises when you break up in a relationship. You know, the triggers domestic violence, or maybe disagreements and arguments. Have you experienced any of that?
Sure.
Then how do you stop it from escalating to where it becomes a full blown?
For the most part, it's usually kind of hurt, coming from a hurt place of how, you know, everything, because we was actually married, but on my part, I didn't marry her for the right reasons. You know, I married her because we had him, and I felt like this is just what I'm supposed to do, not because I felt like I can't spend the rest of I wouldn't be able to live my life without her. I feel like that's the only time somebody should really get married. If you're looking at this woman, you feel like I cannot live without this person. But I did it anyway. It didn't work. We fell out, and I mean, we're kind of going through it now. Like, we're still going through a divorce right now, but it's just, I try not to let her words get to me because I know she's coming from a hurt place. But sometimes it's kind of hard to ignore somebody that's trying to assassinate your character. But sometimes I act out, you know, and I know sometimes she does it to get a reaction out of me, and I give her that reaction. But for the most part, I try to just keep it about him. Like, if she texts me something that don't have nothing to do with him, 9 times out of 10, I won't even respond.
So we're talking about emotion. Emotion is one of the triggers when we talk about domestic violence or talk about abuse, period. What man taught you about love, and what man taught you about respecting women?
What man taught me about love? Oh, shoot,
Okay, now
really, I want to say nobody showed me about love. My mother showed me about. My mother really gave me a lot of game. She gave me.
We're not talking about mothers. We talking about men.
As far as male, I didn't have it. I mean, my brother, again, he went to the military. So by the time I was 15, you know, he went out to the military. So I'm the man in the house at this point. I got to take care of my little sister, 2 little brothers or whatever. So as far as anybody showing love, now I heard stories, you know, how my grandfather did my grandmother and everything like that, as far as working, coming home with the money and, you know, doing all that. But other than that, as far as somebody saying, hey man, you look her in the eye, you do this, as far as I learned that. I learned how to treat a woman from a woman. Yeah. I learned the game from a woman. Now we are instilling that in ours. You know, I have 3. I have 1 girl and 2 boys. My daughter will be 13 next week. Oh my God. So now she has to know what it's like, you know, in order for a man to take care of.
You told her?
Every day. Every day. She comes home with stories, and I'm telling her, but she sees the interaction of how I'm doing with her mother. So, you know what I mean? So, you know, we sit there, you know, you open the door, when she's not getting on my nerves, I do certain things, and, you know, make sure they show that affection, that love, and they get that same level of love, too.
I am the litigation director for the organization, and the way that I got involved, by trade, I am a criminal defense attorney. And I was with the public defender's office here in Jackson County, Kansas City, Missouri, and so often I would be assigned cases where young women have been abused, but they go back to their abuser. There was one particular case that touched my heart so much. The lady had broken ribs, a fractured orbital limb, and a broken arm. And she decided that she didn't want to move forward. She didn't want to prosecute. And shortly after me getting a great deal for my client, the lady was found shot to death in her abdomen. I resigned from the public defender's office. That wasn't the only reason, but I resigned from the public defender's office, and I still handle criminal defense cases, but I wanted to be a voice for the victims, a voice for the women, so that they'll know that they have other options and there are other avenues out here. The first thing that I would say to a victim is that you can survive this. You can survive the abuse, but this is something that you have to want to do. You have got to be fed up enough to know, one, you don't deserve the abuse, and two, you can make it without this individual. A lot of victims that I come across, they're financially dependent on their abuser, financially dependent, they don't have their own home, so I'll let them know that there are resources available so that they don't have to stay in a toxic and abusive situation, because it's dangerous, not just for themselves, but also for the others involved, usually children.
It's hard in our community to break the silence of domestic violence. This month alone, well, January, we've had 10 women get killed over domestic violence issues, and nobody's talking about it. Yesterday was a shootout on 40-person Truce, and I just happened to be there. And I thank God that they went right past me and shot right behind my car. But it just made me think how quick our lives are and how quickly nobody's talking about these things. And so GYRL is embarking on something that we call remarkable. The first of, I think it is April, we're going to take our one of our lots on the corner of 38th and Chestnut, and we're going to turn it into our own gravesite for domestic violence. But we're going to put the names of the women that's being murdered, killed, raped, or maimed in here to let the city know that we're paying attention to what's going on. In our area alone, we have over 4 to 5 rapes every other day.
Deer don't get caught in headlights because they're standing their ground, being standoffish. They literally don't see what's coming and are in a state of shock. Their eyes aren't really able to process orange and red, giving them both partial blindness and awesome night vision in the darkness. Their pupils dilate to span their entire eye, allowing them to soak in all the soft light they can so they can run and frolic all night long. But when those headlights come, they are so bright, the fully dilated pupils of their eyes aren't able to accept more light, so they stand there waiting for their sight to adjust, often frozen till it's too late. Of course, the average person doesn't know this, looking at this sacred creature with no patience, yelling, "Move, stupid deer, move!" But no, of course, they stay, become a suddenly static statue fixture getting hit, and the average onlooker feels a combo pity and piss, like, how stupid can you be to just stay there and take the blow? But the deer wasn't expecting this, couldn't see it coming, dashing in the twilight twinkle, prancing before the dawn, natural and organic love language, happy dancing vixen, shot by Cupid, pupils dilated wide open, had me wide open, trying to take in as much of him as I could, running, trying to learn the whole forest despite the trees. I wasn't trying to be standoffish or nothing. Just blindly in love. Couldn't see the red flags while frolicking in his meadows, where suddenly Lights escalated quickly. He flashed. I stuck in a state of shock, trying to adjust my vision to the situation. Like, what is going on here? When the light came, I didn't know how to react. When presented with illuminated truth, I would have much rather stay in the darkness, retreat to the darkness, than to have a tarnished image of him burned into my retina. His truth traveled at the speed of anger, displaying his true character, no longer kindred spirit animal, but maniacal machine, bashing dome, crashing body, careening evil-spirited nature into everything I worked to build up inside myself, reckless. You would think he would at least try to slam his brakes or swerve to avoid contact. It was as if I wasn't even a living creature in his malevolence. He just kept coming and coming. And I lay here at this fork in the road, unable to process, stay or go, wondering if I bleed, internal, black eye and bloody mouth, fractured spirit and body split, having an out-of-body experience, looking down at my battered self, seeing the sunken place I done slipped into, screaming, how stupid can you be to just stay there and take the blow after blow, feeling a combo self-pity and pissed, yelling, move, stupid dear, sweet, sacred self, girl, get out. Move.
I know you've been hurt too many times, but you don't have to take it. All you gotta do is just make up your mind. Girl, you have control over all the things you do. Listen, girl, this is your life. Girl, it's up to you. Girls give real love. Yes, you gave real love. Listen to me, girl. You gave it all. You gave everything you had, and it still didn't work out. There is nothing else. There is nothing else you can do. This time you just walk away. Just turn your back and walk away. Girl, just give it up. Real love. Walk away and don't look back. Just keep on walking and don't look back.